Okay, well, I'd like to open it up to questions now. So, who would like to ask a question?
Okay, I'll start. You say we don't have a myth today. What are your views on natural selection and Darwinist evolution? And how is that a myth today, or is that the answer to where we did come from? Because the subject really is asking, you know, who are we, where did we come from? And we all have the right to answer this question, and we all want it answered, and it's not been answered satisfactorily up to this date. Seems a mystery, right?
Well, I think the idea that Darwin has come up with in terms of evolution, we have to look at that in terms of neo-Darwinism, and we've got to connect it to the genetics. But that's only telling us about where we came from. It's not setting up a myth that we can live for in the future. It really isn't. I mean, yeah, we're going to evolve, but we have no idea what that's going to be. And so it's only a partial storyline, if you will. It tears down the old myth, but there's nothing really within Darwinism to build a new one. And the new myth has to come out of our science of the geography of the Earth, how it changes, celestial events, and how these impact the Earth, and the idea that we're migratory people, and not only do we migrate on the planet of the Earth, but we've got to migrate out into the cosmos. There's a lot to be explored out there, and our energies, instead of wasting all our money killing each other, and that's essentially what we're doing here, we've got to put our energies into developing a that gets us off the planet. We've got to do something. Now, Kennedy started this back in the 60s. He said we'd be on the moon at the end of the decade. And that really should come from a leader, not a dictator like we have now, but a leader who is going to say, we're going to get off this planet, we've got to cooperate to do it. And we could establish a wonderful storyline around it. But getting back to Darwin, it's only half the story. That's where we came from, but where are we going?
Okay, good. Other questions?
Yeah. You said that the possibility of life outside the planet is actually a really, really low possibility that life outside of the planet exists. Is that right? Doesn't exist. Sorry, doesn't exist.
Well, I think that there's life all over the universe. From what we understand now, comets that came into the Earth's atmosphere, if you want to go back, 4 billion years ago and so on, they were bringing in amino acids, and then they have been bringing in life forms as well, seeding the Earth. On planet Earth, we have 2 distinct life forms genetically. When you look at the genetics of it, and both of them could have evolved here naturally, or they could have come in from other sources. So I think because of finding these amino acids, which is the building blocks of life, the probability of life on other planets in the universe is highly likely. That's the thinking that goes in. Now, whether these life forms are intelligent enough to traverse the universe, well, that's another question. We don't know. If they're a billion years ahead of us, then certainly they are. Making contact, however, with aliens could be a dangerous enterprise. Anyone who's floating around in the universe has got to be aggressive, assertive, and they may look at us as ants, if you will. And so, sending out messages that we're here, as we have done on some of these satellites that we've sent up, I don't think that's a very good idea. But at any rate, I also think that there's life throughout the universe, whether it's capable of journeying between galaxies or not, I don't know.
Okay, good. Other questions?
I didn't ask my question. Well, I just, it's so big that the universe is unfathomable big. So the possibility that there's an advanced cultures out there, far advanced from us, it seems like more of a possibility than there isn't. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I think statistically, the probability is there that we have advanced civilizations, perhaps more advanced than ours, that are out there. How we would relate to them if we ever met up, I don't know. Humans are not very nice to strangers. We don't know how aliens would treat us. We just don't know. Humans are a small group animal. That's one of the reasons we're not very nice to strangers, because they're not part of our group. And if you're not part of a group, well, you're often considered the enemy in a group. That's dangerous. This is the way it's been forever. But again, I think that probably there are some very advanced civilizations out there. Whether they've traveled here or not is another thing. To me, it would be more reasonable for cultures to send out probes. That unmanned probes would be a more reasonable thing to do than be sending out life forms. But again, I don't know.
I want to preface this because what you were just saying reminded me of a bit of Carl Sagan's Cosmos series, where he said that if aliens did come, you know, they got to around maybe they have really good telephoto lenses on their cameras, so they got to about where the moon is or something, and they look at the surface of the Earth, and they see like general shapes, and then they see like buildings, and between the buildings they see cars, and they actually would think that the cars are the life forms, and that the humans getting in and out of the cars are not actually the life forms, but maybe sort of parasites that live on the life forms or something like that. But coming back to what you were talking about earlier, panspermia, I remember Carl Sagan, you know, not seriously, but, you know, as just a possibility, said that who knows, maybe if it's true that life came from panspermia, it could have possibly been from Venus or Mars.
It's possible. We certainly have rocks from Mars, and there appears to be something in them. It's hard to determine whether it's a life form or not. I don't know. This is part of the creativeness of humans to speculate in this area. I just don't know. Now, I think Sagan's idea of aliens and attempting to interpret what a building is or what a car is or what humans are, that might be a real problem. We have a tendency to think these aliens are going to look something like us. Now, we do know that because of gravity and all that kind of stuff, a life form has to be a certain size in order to deal with fire. And if you can't deal with fire, you can't go much beyond rubbing sticks together and hunting and gathering and whatever. Without fire, you can't develop the metallurgy and so on that you would need to get off the planet. And so interpretation here of all of this, the aliens would have to be of a certain size. They would have to have mechanisms to manipulate, so they'd have to have some sort of hands, if you will. But they could look totally different from us. Our ideas of what an alien is are distorted by the science fiction writers and what we see around us. So I think Sagan's got some pretty good ideas, or he has some pretty good ideas as to how potentially aliens might view us. And they might see us as scum. Who knows?
Okay, good. Other questions?
Sorry, I love this topic. Doctor, have you seen? There's a movie out that came out this week called Sirius by Dr. Greer, and Stephen Greer, he believes that just the fact that we're still alive, that's proof that the aliens are not here for malevolent reasons. How would you answer him?
Well, the question, first of all, you have to identify what question is being asked here. He's making an assumption that the aliens exist to begin with. Well, we don't know. And so if you make that assumption, I mean, you can come up with all kinds of stories. If we go back just 50,000 years on this planet, 50,000 years ago on this planet, there might have been 2,000 modern humans roaming around Africa. 2,000. We almost went extinct. Why this happened probably had to do with drought and a lot of other things. But once we got out of Africa, we started to increase in numbers very, very rapidly after that. The fact that we do exist, I don't think can be attached to aliens whatsoever. Again, it kind of, the storyline kind of begs the question. First of all, you have to assume that aliens exist before you can go past that. I don't think so. I don't think that any aliens have ever been here, but maybe probes have. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not familiar with that. But I don't think you can come to that conclusion for what he's saying.
Well, according to the movie, he said there's so much evidence that UFOs and aliens exist that he said even 1% would change our belief system. So and there are thousands and thousands of UFO, and you can go online.
Every month.
Every month there's and crop circles, and how would you answer those?
Okay, well, my answer to that is most of the stuff you see online is fake and it's forged.
Okay.
It's made up. Yes, there are UFOs that need to be explained, but there is no evidence that I have seen. There's no evidence that I have seen that suggests any alien from another planet has been here. I've never seen the information. People talk about things. I say, show it to me. I never see it. No one ever brings it in. A lot of this is urban legend type of thing, or third person. I know a person that knows a person that has seen this, etc., etc. Again, UFOs need to be explained. There are things that certainly need to be explained, but that doesn't mean that there are aliens attached to this. It means we just don't understand them, as far as I'm concerned. So that's a problem for me. Again, UFOs get explained, but it doesn't necessarily attach itself to the idea of an alien being here.
Okay, other questions? Okay, I've got another one. In your opinion or study, is it possible that ancient peoples had some technology that traditionally we don't believe they had, or otherwise that we don't understand?
Well, I think so. We didn't think that anybody had come up with the idea of a battery, but now we know that they did. As a matter of fact, you could, I don't know what they use these batteries for. They don't look like they're going to put out a tremendous amount of electricity. They may have been used for healing or medicine or shamanic tomfoolery. It's hard to know what they were used for. But if you had a string of these batteries, then you could possibly develop things like light bulbs or things that would give off light and so on. So we don't see any evidence of this. But we do know that the ancient Egyptians understood the battery. And we do have examples of, or at least one example, of an archaic battery that goes back a few thousand years. So in terms of certain technologies, yeah, they may have had things that we weren't aware of. I don't think that there's anything fantastic like levitation devices and so on. We have to understand that the ancient alien hunters have put out so much garbage and misinterpretation. Let me give you an example. They talk about the temple structures in Peru, and they suggest that these rocks in these temples are made out of basalt, very heavy rock that is transported long, long distances. And the only conclusion they could have there is that some alien must have picked it up in a spaceship and moved it for them. We now know that that's false. The rocks that these temples are made out of are not all that heavy, and they could be hauled around by human beings. So we have to be very, very careful about the interpretations that these ancient alien hunters put out there, because it becomes true. If you read Sitchin's Earth Chronicles, start with the first book, he'll make a statement about something, and then 2 paragraphs later it becomes fact, rather than opinion. That's not science in any shape or form. And so you have people coming up with an opinion about something, and then it becomes fact later in the book. And it's these facts that have, or pseudo facts that have come into our culture that people look at and then raise questions about whether there's have been aliens here or not. But again, most of the things that the ancient alien hunters have come up with can be adequately explained to have nothing to do with ancient aliens. But again, there's probably technology that was invented that was lost. Another example of this is concrete. We know that a couple of thousand years ago they were able to make concrete, but that got lost for a long, long time. Ideas become property for individuals, as does today. And some people would have secrets about things, not tell others, they die, and so that information died with them. We've had to backtrack on technology many times, I'm quite sure. Making fire would probably be a good example. There's no evidence of anyone being able to make fire until probably 5,000 years ago. Very complicated in making it, they probably learned to do it, it gets lost. We know at European contact with a couple of cultures, they used fire, but they had no idea how to make it. At one time they must have, but they lost information. So we get those types of things that go on.
I saw a really interesting. This speaks to what you're just talking about losing technology, or just over time losing whatever it is. There was a program, I think it was on BBC. It was called Earth After 10,000 Years, or Earth After 50,000 Years, something like that. And it said, if all the people just disappeared off the Earth right now, after 10 years, this would happen. After blah, 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 all the way. After 10,000 years, New York City looked like a jungle. All the concrete, all the steel, all the glass had basically, either decomposed or gone back into the earth. Some plastic would have been left, but that would have been covered over by sediment and basically buried. So something like. It's amazing to think that something like New York City, which is what we would say is the height of modern technology, could disappear after 10,000 years.
Oh, sure, yeah. The way that works is, most people don't think of this, but you often wonder why cities are so dirty. Well, the air that you breathe is full of garbage, and it always has been. It's nothing new. And when that air hits the building, the particles in that air stick to the building or fall down the side. And in the course of 10,000 years, you can imagine how much that would build up. And so New York City would be underground. The probability of the concrete and the metal and whatnot decomposing, well, I think that would probably stick around for a long time. But a lot of the other things would certainly degrade. And you would probably have certain types of plastic that would hang around. But I think if we came back in 10,000 years to what is New York City, and we started to dig down, we'd be able to find a lot of that city and be able to reconstruct a great deal of it, mainly because of the materials that are used. Now, if this New York City was made out of wood, and it wasn't covered over very quickly, a lot of that would certainly be destroyed, and so on and so forth. A lot of the pavement and so on, you're going to get plants that are going to grow up through that initially and whatnot and break a lot of that up. But you'd still find a great deal under that ground, if you will, to tell us what New York City was.
Okay, good. So any other questions? We have just a few minutes left.
Just one thing then. I don't know how true this is or not, but the Great Pyramid in Egypt, I had it was aligned perfectly to the north and to the south and east and west, and also right on the longitude and latitude, the center of the Earth, and that encodes certain information about the dimensions of our planet. And just to ask you a question, whether you believe that human civilization is just slowly, gradually been stepping up in advancement, or that we actually have lost a golden age, you know, about maybe Atlantis or Mu, or do you believe in those legends like Atlantis, a golden age where we understood a lot more, maybe in a different paradigm, so we wouldn't be building plastic, we wouldn't be using oil, but we might be, you know, thinking slightly differently, have a civilized society, you know?
I think all advanced cultures speak of a golden age where things were bigger and better and whatever. I do think that there have been civilizations that would have been quite impressive that have been destroyed because of catastrophic events, solar issues, if you will, meteors coming in. The pyramids themselves and what they represent is still up in the air. And the reason I say that is we have an evolution of the pyramid. We know that they start from mastabas, which is an Arabic word for bench. They lead to step pyramids. This leads to the bent pyramid, and right on down the line. So if the pyramid was something that was specifically designed to represent the Earth with its dimensions of north, south, east, and west, in terms of its setup and whatever, this may be true, and it may have certainly been kind of accidental through the math. I mean, there are geniuses that probably figured a lot of this out. We don't know. But because we have the evolution of the pyramid, we can't say that the Great Pyramid on the Giza Plateau was developed without precedence or by aliens or whatever. It's not a machine. It's not a way to generate energy. It's nothing like that, as far as we can determine. I mean, that would be a Rube Goldberg device to build something like that to generate energy. They could generate energy in other ways. I mentioned the battery earlier. That would be a better way of doing this than building a pyramid. So I think that there are advanced civilizations. We don't know how old the pyramids are. Some people put them back there, what, 2600 BC. They may go back further than that. The Sphinx may go back 10,000 BC, which makes sense in terms of site Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. There may be some connection to these things. It's really, really hard to say. I'm not sure I'm totally answering your question. If I'm interpreting you right, we do have an evolution of the pyramid, and so it did not just show up. We can see the attempts, if you will, to make a pyramid, the attempts that didn't work, and then the results that we do have on the Giza Plateau, which probably those three pyramids represent Orion's belt. They probably do in some way or another.
Okay, good. Any last questions? We have time for one more question.
I've got one question.
Okay.
Interesting speech. Yeah, I've seen Ancient Aliens debunked, and I think a lot of these charismatic people, you know, are spewing out some dubious comments. But I've got an issue with your title. You call them Ancient Alien Hunters. Don't you think that's a bit of a strange title? Because if you look at, let's say, alien hunters, and there are alien hunters as well out today. You go out, like if you go to East Seti, for example, you can see UFOs on a daily basis. So why do you call them Ancient Alien Hunters and not TV personality historians, for example?
Well, that's what they call themselves. So I'm just repeating what they call themselves. To me, they're researchers, if you will, but they're more researchers into the fantastic, and the stories that they create, I have great difficulty believing. But again, that's what they call themselves, Ancient Alien Hunters.
Okay.
And we can call them all kinds of things, I suppose, but that's their reference to themselves.
Okay, well, we're just about out of time, so let's say thank you to John Rush. Thank you.
Hope we can do this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a good day. It's your morning there, so you have a good day, and we're getting close to the end of our night. So talk to you soon, John.
Okay, thanks a lot. You take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.